It's me, Mike, everybody. I'm from Applefun Puppetry, and I'm a puppeteer, as you know, and I make puppets, and I do puppet shows. I make the puppets to put into the puppet shows. And today, we are going to make a puppet. I love making puppets, everybody. I love it. So, I'm going to show you an easy way to make one style of puppets, but there's many different ways to make puppets. And I'll also talk about, I'll show you one way to do it, and then I'm going to also show you a few different ideas so that you can have, when you're making your puppet show, you can put lots of variety into your puppet show. Okay, so the one I'm going to show you how to make step by step, but we're going to do it together today, is a sock puppet. So here's one that I made earlier.
Cheese. Oh, nice to meet you. My name is Saki, and I'm made out of a sock.
Right? This is Saki. That's one puppet that I made earlier. Then, just to show you how different they can be, here's another one.
Hello, my name is Louise, and I'm a Cyclops unicorn.
So there you go. I put a little horn on the head, so it's a unicorn, but also has one eye, so it's a cyclops. So you can see that there's lots of different options here. These sock puppets are amazing. This one has legs, a little hairstyle on top, and a nose. And this one's just plain.
Hi there. Nice to meet you. Yes.
And here's one more. This one's plain also. So, first thing to do is get yourself a sock. Now, you don't have to use the same kind of socks that I'm using. Use whatever you have around, but don't use your good socks. And also, don't use your stinky socks, right? Make sure they're clean, and also ask before you make a puppet out of any sock. These ones that I'm using, though, I really like to use these ones. These are dollar store socks. They're clean, they're brand new from the dollar store. And they come in all these awesome colors, right? All these bright colors or even plain colors. There's a beige one. This is like fuchsia or, I don't know, red or pink or magenta, something like that. And this light blue one. And that's probably what I'm going to use today, is this light blue one here. So these socks are really stretchy. So that's good because they'll fit on a small hand, but they'll also fit on a big hand because they stretch, and also they're very fluffy. Like they have this almost a fur texture to them. So it makes like for a nice puppet when you use these. I'm actually thinking of doing a puppet show that only uses these kind of puppets, these kind of sock puppets. Right? Because this is an easy project. What I'm going to show you today is a very easy way to make a puppet. So what's good about that, like some of the puppets that I make, it takes hours or days to make them. But these kind of puppets, I love a puppet that's easy to make and fast to make. Because if you get an idea for a character in your story, it's sometimes good to make your character fast, make the puppet fast, so you can try it out, right? Without putting a lot of time in. And then if it works, then you can make a better version of it, right? But also sometimes I'll make a fast puppet and then I'll just leave it and just use that. So this is the sock that I'm going to use. So the first thing to do is we want to make the mouth plate. So if you look at this one that I made earlier, it has like a mouth opening. And what I did is I just put a piece of cardboard in there. Okay? So you can use cardboard to do this. I'm just using an old box. These were cabbage rolls, right? And I ate all of the cabbage rolls, and then I just cut out a shape. I just cut out, like on one of the folded edges, I cut out a half of a circle so that when I open it up, it becomes a full circle. And that's going to become what's called the mouth plate inside of the puppet to give it a shape. Okay? So let me show you what I mean. So I'm just choosing an edge of the cardboard, and I'm going to cut out a half of a circle, or it doesn't have to be a circle. It could also be a diamond shape. If you want a pointy nose on your puppet, you could cut out a triangle instead. You could do a square instead, but I like to do usually a round piece like that, okay? And you can see that because I cut on the edge of the fold of the box, if I open it up, it becomes a full circle or an oval. It's more of an oval, right? Just to show you about how big I made that, I made it about the size of the tips of my fingers, okay? You can make it a little bit bigger than that or a little bit, I wouldn't go smaller. That's about as small as you want to go, but you could make it a little bit bigger to make your puppet have a bigger mouth if you want. Some of those ones that I showed you earlier have a bigger, wider mouth. You can see that one there. If you compare it to the size of my hand, it's wider. That works too. Really, it doesn't matter. Whatever you end up with will work. And you can trim it later also, right? Don't worry about it too much. It's good to, not have, it's good to have a plan and plan out your character, but if it goes wrong or there's little mistakes or things like that, it's okay. These puppets don't have to be perfect. That's what I'm saying, right? Happy mistakes or happy little accidents. There used to be this artist on television, and he used to say, when he was a painter and he would make paintings, and he would say, oh, it's a happy accident all the time. So before we put this inside of the puppet to make it have its mouth, I sometimes like to just cut off these pointy corners on the edge of the mouth because they might stick out through the sock, depending on what kind of sock you have. But you see what I did there? I just cut the edges off, the corners off, so that now there's a little indent on either side of the mouth. Okay? And now, hopefully you have a glue stick there or some kind of glue. White glue works. I'm using a glue stick because it's good enough to stick this together, but and it's fast. It'll dry almost immediately. Whereas white glue, if you use white glue, you have to wait for it to dry. So I'm just going to use a glue stick, and I use a purple glue stick so you can see what I'm doing here. I'm putting glue all over one side of the mouth plate. So only put it on one side like that, okay? So cover the whole circle, the whole shape with glue. And put lots of glue on there so it really sticks, and I'll show you. So that side's covered in glue, and this side with the box printing on it is just plain. So don't put glue on that side or else your hand will stick into the puppet, and then you'll never be able to get the puppet off. And then you'll have to go to the Walmart with a puppet on your hand, right? And then you have to do a puppet show all the time for even the people in the line at the Walmart. Now, take your sock and turn it inside out. And what I mean when I say turn the sock inside out is this side this is normal right now. This is right side out, it's called. But I'm going to take it and I'm going to turn it inside out. You see what I mean? So I'm just turning the sock inside out. And now you can see all of the sewing and the stitches and the little pieces of thread and stuff because the sock is inside out. All right? Now, take the inside out sock, put it on your hand, and this is kind of important. Make sure the heel of the sock, if your sock has a heel, put it towards the back of your hand, okay? Put it towards the back there. Don't put it under here, but put it towards the back because it'll just fit on your hand better. And then tuck the toe inside so you have a little mouth.
Hello, nice to see you.
Right? That's basically what we're doing. We're just giving it a bit more shape. Tuck it in and then take your mouth plate, fold it in half, glue side out, and stick it in there. And then sort of squish it and grab it. So grab it with the hand that's inside the sock and then squish it so the glue really sticks to the sock. Okay? And while it's still on there, turn the sock right side out. And what I mean by that is you take it's inside out right now. Take it and flip it over, take the edge and turn it so that the right side is out again. That's called right side out. Okay? And the mouth plate is right here. And you sort of try to grab the edges. You might have to put your hand in and open up the mouth plate. And then you can flatten out the fabric of the sock. There we go. And now what we have is we have the same thing, but we have a little bit more shape to the mouth. Let me show you.
Hi, look at that. Now I have a nice mouth shape.
It is a good mouth shape. So now, this is basically a puppet, right? We don't really have to do much else to this. This is basically a puppet, but we want to decorate it. We want to make the mouth show up better because it's the same color as the skin, the outside of the puppet. So we want to make this a different color on the inside. We're going to add eyes and things like that to the puppet, okay? So, here's a little tip. When you're making the inside of the mouth for your puppet, it's good to choose a color that is the opposite sort of whatever the color the puppet is. So this puppet is very light blue. So we're really with this kind of this color of sock or puppet, I could use any color for inside the mouth. But pretend I use this sock, right? If I use this sock, I wouldn't want to make the inside of the mouth red. I would want to make it either like a light pink or black so that there's contrast, what's called contrast, between the color of the puppet and the inside of the mouth. And I'll show you, maybe I can show you what I mean. Like this puppet is fuchsia colored, so I did the inside of the mouth black. Most of these are black. Oh no, here's one. So this one is a darker purple and inside of the mouth, pink. Okay? So just choose a color. I mean, really you can use any color for inside of the mouth. It doesn't even have to be pink or black or red. Those are the three that I generally use, is pink, black, or red. And if you look at the Muppets are often, the inside of their mouth is usually black, pink, or red. And usually with a red tongue. That's usually, if you look at the Muppets like Kermit, Fozzie Bear, all those guys, usually it's black, red, or pink inside their mouth. So I'm going to do black for this puppet. So I have some black construction paper here. Just a little piece, you don't need much. Fold it in half, and then you cut out another circle just like you did with the cardboard. So it's a half folded piece of paper, so I'm cutting a half circle. And I'm thinking I'm going to make it a little bit smaller than the other half circle that I did because I want there to be an edge or lip around the mouth. So I cut out a black half circle, and when I open it up, it's like that, okay? So I can test that out before I glue it in, make sure it's the right size. I just put it inside the mouth, like so. And make sure there's a bit of an edge. Do you see how there's a blue edge all around the black? That's perfect. That's just what you want. Like these guys have. They all have that. Makes it look like if I open my mouth, black circle, right? And the lips are around the outside. I hope that explains it. I don't think it does. So anyway, we want to glue the inside of the mouth into the mouth of the puppet. So take your black piece of construction paper, circle, get your glue stick and smear glue all over one side of the circle. Lots of it so it really sticks in there. And then put it inside of the puppet's mouth so that the crease or the fold matches up with the fold of the mouth. And then you just press it in there. And there we go. Now our puppet has a mouth, a much more visible mouth.
Hello, I'm singing. I am singing.
That's a singing puppet. So now let's make a tongue for inside of this puppet. And that's really, again, any color will work. I'm going to use pink, I think, or red. I'm not sure. Do I have pink? I'd like to use pink. Yeah, I have some pink paper here, so I'm just going to cut out a little circle. You don't have to fold the paper or anything. Just cut out a tiny circle. If you want, you could use the lid of your glue stick, trace out a circle, and cut it out. But I'm just going to go freehand today. Cutting out a little circle of paper, which will become the tongue of the puppet. So this is a circle tongue, but you could do a pointy tongue. You could do like a snake tongue. You could do a triangle tongue. You could do a square tongue. You could do an orange tongue. You could do a blue tongue. Like, use your imagination. It could be anything. Your puppets don't have to be exactly like mine, and they also don't have to be very perfect. They can be silly and fun and have all kinds of different things, like a blue tongue or anything like that. A green tongue, and maybe they're sick. Maybe the puppet is sick, and you're like, you say to the puppet, "How are you feeling?" And he's like,
Ah, not very good. My tongue is green.
and you're like, yeah, something's wrong, right? So there, I made a little pink tongue for the inside of this puppet's mouth. Ah! See what that does? Before, when there was no tongue in there, your eye didn't really notice anything. But now that the pink tongue is there, and he opens his mouth, your eye is drawn into the puppet's mouth, and so it just helps the audience to look at the puppet and draw the attention of the audience to the puppet.
Yes, that's nice.
Okay, so now let's make eyes for the puppet, and I'm going to tell you a little trick that I always talk about when I'm teaching people how to make puppets. When you make the eyes of a puppet, it's good to make them a little bit crossed, okay? So again, if you look at the Muppets, Kermit and all those guys, or even that big puppet that's behind me, that one, you can see that the eyes are a little bit crossed, which means that the pupils, which is the black part, and the irises, which is the colorful part around the pupils, they're pointed slightly towards the center of the eyes, of the face. So imagine that puppet has a nose. I don't know if you can see it or not, but the pupils and the eyes are focused a little bit, they're pointed a little bit towards the nose of the face. And that makes the puppet look a little bit more alive and has a better it's called eye focus. Okay, if you look at any of the Muppets, with some exceptions, they have good eye focus. And the exception, and an exception is just like when it's different, Cookie Monster. I'm sure you all know who Cookie Monster is, right? Cookie Monster does not have good eye focus, but it's on purpose, right? So I'm telling you to give your puppets good eye focus, but you don't have to listen to me, right? You can make your puppets have eyes that look out like this, or that they google it. You could use googly eyes, and they move around all the time, which is like what Cookie Monster has. He has googly eyes. But that's by choice. When they designed Cookie Monster, they designed him to have eyes that go all over the place, because Cookie Monster isn't very focused, right? Cookie Monster is just like, he's not focused. He's going after the cookies or broccoli, if that's what he eats now. And he's so excited about the cookies and all of that that his eyes go all over the place. So that's part of the design of the character. So you can decide, and you don't even have to decide. You could just make eyes and see how they turn out. But and if they look like they're googly, then make that part of who the character is, right? Or if they make them very nicely focused, then that can become your character. He's a very focused person, right? Very focused puppet. So also, you don't have to do 2 eyes. You can do 3, 4, 5, 6 eyes. Remember the one that I showed you before, the Cyclops unicorn? 1 eye. Anything. Use your imagination. I'm just going to use white cardstock. Like, this is paper, basically. You can just use white paper. And on a light colored puppet like this, I like to make a nice black outline around the eyes so that they show up better against the light fabric. By the way, I know I'm going really fast here. Don't worry. This video is going to be up for you to watch later, so you can watch it back and pause it or anything like that, okay? So I apologize if I'm going really fast, but don't worry. You can watch the video again later and just see and slow it down and pause it and all of that. But let me just show you these eyes that I'm making. And I'm making them nice and big so you can really see what I'm talking about. Okay, let's have a look at these. So I made 2 eyes, and I put the pupils, they're not really round or anything, but that's okay. They don't have to be perfect. I made nice big black outlines around the outside, and I'm going to cut around the outside of the black line so that I get a nice, so the eyes really show up. But also I put the 2 pupils just a little bit towards the middle, off center of the eye, okay? So that I'll be able to give this puppet good eye focus. So I'll cut the eyes out with my safety scissors, and then I'm gonna glue them onto the puppet's face. Cut, 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 cut. This is called the cutting song. Tell me if you like it. Cut, 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 cut. It's not the best song in the world, that's for sure, but it's fun. Cut, 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 cut. There. I changed it a bit. So now I've cut out these two eyes. There they are. And then I'll just glue them onto the face. I cut them out, see? And put a little glue on the back of each one. And we're almost done making these puppets. And there we go. Let's see how it looks. It looks a little bit mean, this one. Maybe it's a bad guy. Maybe it's a villain. It's always good to have a villain in your puppet show because it makes it more interesting, gives conflict to the story. There we go. You can make a little nose. If you have some pom-poms, you could put a little nose on there. I don't add a lot of details to my puppet faces too much because I like to keep them simple and easy to look at, right? So you could add teeth, you could add a nose, you could add a hairstyle. But for now, before we get to any of that, we're gonna make hands for the puppets. Okay? Because that really, you should have hands, unless it's a snake or something like that. But I'm gonna do hands, just to show you that part. And legs also if you want, but legs are pretty optional on a puppet, right? Because you don't usually, usually the puppet is inside of a little puppet stage, like this one, and you don't really see the feet. But that's only one way of doing a puppet show. If you're standing there with the puppet, you might want to have feet on there because it looks more complete. So I'm just going to get some more construction paper. I'm going to choose a color here for the feet, for the arms. I'm going to use purple, I think, for these arms. So you get yourself some construction paper or cardboard or anything. Little trick I like to do is I fold the paper. I always say puppet because that's what I'm always thinking about. You fold the paper. This is hamburger, right? I folded the paper hamburger instead of, what's the other one? Hot dog. Folding paper hot dog style is this way, lengthwise. One of my students told me that the other day. That's hot dog. So you can fold it either hot dog or hamburger or both. And then if you have folded hot dog and hamburger, then you have a piece of paper that's folded into four, right? And when I cut out the hand, I'll end up with 4 different hands, right? Like when you make a snowflake or whatever. And then you can save the 2 of the hands. Well, you could give your puppet 4 hands. That's one thing you can do. That's one idea. Or you could give it 2 hands and save another set of hands for a different puppet later. Or you could use the hands, the same cutout for the hands and the feet. All right? So it's up to you. I'm just going to do 2-handed puppet here, and I'm going to cut out a hand. Right? Just free hand. Now you could draw this out and cut it out if you want to, but I'm just going to do it freehand. I was reading a book the other day about Charles Schulz, and Charles Schulz is a cartoonist, and he is the cartoonist who is famous for drawing Snoopy and Charlie Brown and all of those characters. And he said, one of the things he said was when he does fingers for his cartoon characters, he never worries about making all the fingers look exactly the same. It's never like 1, 2, 3, 4. He makes them all look a little bit different on purpose because human hands, our fingers are all a little bit different. And I thought that was interesting, and it makes it more fun, I think, to make the hands have different shapes. See? So I made a hand that has only 3 fingers, which is quite common, 3 or 4 fingers instead of 4 fingers and a thumb, like we have. Most of us have. Excuse me. A lot of the times cartoons will only have 3 or 4 fingers, and again, it's just about making the character more simple. Simplifying your character, like not putting a nose or not putting ears or not putting teeth on there, and putting only 3 fingers. Simplifying the character is always a good thing to do, because it makes the character a little bit easier to look at. Okay? So what I did, I just folded a little tab over onto, can you see that? I folded the end of the arm over so that I have a little tab to put glue on, and I put some glue onto that tab. And there you go. And then the place you want to stick these is, I mean, you can stick them anywhere along the sides of the puppet's body, but I tend to do it right underneath the cheeks, sort of the edge of the puppet's mouth. For some reason, I think that really looks good on these puppets. So I'm just pushing I put some glue stick onto the tips of the arms, and I'm pushing them on there, and that puppet is pretty much done.
Hey, look out. I'm a bad guy. Oh, yes. I'm the villain in this puppet show.
One thing I can tell you, the paper that I use for the eyes is a little bit shiny, and what you might want to do is, especially if you're filming your puppet show, if you're using a camera or anything to film your puppet show, and you're using lights, the lights will shine off of the eyes, and then you can see that when I move him around, his eyes kind of disappear because the lights his eyes are reflecting the light. If you use paper like construction paper that's dull, that won't happen. Okay, so that's just a little tip.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
So there, we've basically made our puppet. Now, before I show you some other ideas, because I want to give you guys lots of ideas about how to make puppets, I just want to make a little bit of hair style for this puppet. So there's lots of different ways you can make hair for puppets. If you have it, fake fur. This one has fake fur as a hairstyle, and almost these are like his eyebrows, these 2 pieces. That's one way. Oh, by the way, if you want to make teeth for your puppet, that's how I did that. Those are just little tiny squares of white paper that I cut out, and I glued them all in to the mouth, if you want to make teeth. So that's one way to make hair, is to use fur. You could use yarn, but also you can just make hair out of paper, like this guy has. I made just, I cut out a piece of paper and stuck it right on top of his head. Right? You could make curly hair. Like let's try making a hairstyle for this one, but let's make long hair. So I'm going to get a little bit of yellow paper, I think. And I'll show you kind of an easy way to make hair just using paper. You can make a little yarn, if you're using yarn, one way you can do it is you can just wrap yarn, a good amount of yarn around your hand, right? And then you take it off your hand so that you have a loop of bunched up yarn, and then you tie it around the middle. And then once it's tied around the middle, you take some scissors and you just snip inside the 2 loops of the yarn, and that makes a little wig that you could stick to the top of your puppet. So there's lots of ways to make hair. I'm going to use this style, which is just taking a long strip of paper, and then I'm going to curl it on the 2 ends. So I'm just going to roll it up on the 2 ends. And this will give a nice funny looking kind of longish hair. This is also a way you could do a mustache. See?
Do you like my mustache? Hello. Yes, thank you.
And then you can fold it down a little bit and then glue it to the top of the puppet's head, and it'll make a nice funny little hairstyle. Let's see what that looks like. Put the puppet on the hand. You need to wait to let the glue dry on these a little bit, because it's hard to stick things to socks. There.
Ooh, that's a nice hairstyle.
Yes, that's my hairstyle.
I changed the voice there. So there you go. It also kind of looks like horns a little bit, so you could put horns on there. Maybe it's a cow, something like that.
Maybe it's a cow.
Okay, so there you go. That's how you make a puppet out of a sock. Now, before we go, I want to quickly show you a few other ideas. This one is a tennis ball.
Blah, 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 blah.
So it's a tennis ball, and I made a slit in it. And then if you squeeze the ball from the sides, it talks. And I put a cloth over top just to make it like have a little bit of clothing. And I put little hands on there with little sticks to move the hands. So you can make a tennis ball puppet. That's another idea. You could make a puppet out of a sponge. This one is a dollar store sponge that I sort of cut in half almost all the way. And I put a circle mouth inside, a little bit of hair on top, eyes on the front, little pom-pom nose.
Hello. Yes.
My fingers are in the back. I cut 2 slits so I can put my fingers in the back. Sponge puppet. You can make a puppet out of so many different things. Here's one made out of just paper. So I folded up a piece of paper, and I'll show you how I did it really quickly. I just had a full piece of paper, which I folded into thirds lengthwise. Then I folded it in half. Then I folded the 2 halves back so that it looks like an M. And that gives you a space to put your hand inside of.
Yep, that's right. Hello.
And then I made a body out of a tube of paper so I can put it on my hand, put my fingers into my head.
Blah, blah, blah.
Paper puppet, tennis ball puppet, sponge puppet, sock puppet. That's just a few ideas. Use your imagination. You can make a puppet out of a box. You can make a puppet out of almost anything if you put some eyes on it. You could just put them on your hand.
Hello. Nice to see you.
Right? Okay, everybody, thank you for watching. That's how you make a sock puppet for your puppet show. So that is that. I hope you have a good rest of the day, and I will see you again. My name's Mike, Applefun Puppetry.